of you here. This is our new series that it will give you an insight of how you can practice and bring the wisdom into your daily life. I am excited to introduce one of our newest teachers, David. And also I want to introduce Alix Roland. Alix has been ACA teacher for a long time and is DCI teacher as well. And she's very successful. And she will give a class with David about relationships. So please welcome Alix and David.
Okay. Thank you, LA. It's wonderful to be here. I think, preparing this class has really been a gift to me because we're talking about relationships, and everything that I'm teaching in a class, I'm using in my relationship as I'm teaching the class, preparing to teach the class. So it is really a gift to me. And I want to invite, since we're talking about relationships, if anyone would like to turn their camera on, it would be wonderful to see all of your shining faces. So I just want to invite you to join us so we can see you. I was inspired to give this talk mostly because of my relationship with my wonderful fiancée, Adrienne. And we met in March of 2020. We went on 2 dates, very nice dates. And then New York City shut down because of coronavirus. So we had to overcome many challenges in our relationship from the very beginning. And our relationship has flourished. We have been together for, now almost 3 years. And we are engaged to be married later this year. So, as in any relationship, we have challenges. We both have very strong opinions. She's a very strong woman. And it's not easy, and I really feel that the methods, the teachings that I want to talk about today, I would not be able to be successful in this relationship without these teachings. I would not be able to be the partner that Adrienne deserves without these teachings. Okay. So this is my mind is on relationships and marriage, but this will work in any relationship. This will work with your family, your colleagues, your boss, anybody who you relate to. This will work with. So please, use this, and I use it in different relationships. Okay. So what are we going to talk about today? What are these teachings? We're going to talk about perceptions today. Perception. Because in a relationship, our perceptions can change very quickly. It is very, very heartbreaking. Sometimes we have wonderful perception, in our relationship. And then 1 hour later, we have different, terrible, perception. And then later we have a beautiful perception again. And we say, why is this happening? And mostly we think it's the other person. We think, oh, they changed, they're acting different. Right? But how much does my perception have to do with what I'm seeing? Right? We're going to try to take more responsibility for our own perceptions in this class. And I think we all know our own perceptions affect things, but how much is the question? Because the more we accept it is our perception, the more power we have to change our relationship. Right? We want to have that power to have a good relationship. And that's why we can reimagine our relationships. Right? The relationship can change because our perception can change. Okay. So in this class, we're going to talk about how our perceptions arise. Right? We use logic for that. And then we talk about how to change our perceptions. And we need a lot of knowledge and wisdom to do that. And Alix is going to start. She's going to tell us a little bit about the teachings and the knowledge that we use to do this. Because we can't just wish it to happen. So Alix, yeah.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you everybody for being here from all around the world. I'm wondering if you celebrate Valentine's Day in your country. You can put in the chat a heart if you celebrate Valentine's Day. So all of February in America is a time to think about love. This could be our intimate relationship. I remember in school when we were little children, people used to give a Valentine's to everybody in the classroom. So as David said, this class is about all different kinds of relationships and how we can make them more loving and supportive. The main question is how much of what we're experiencing in our relationship comes from us? And how much is the other person? To look at that, we're going to be going to material from ACI, Course 2, about Buddhist refuge. In this course, it says that things don't exist really. David is going to prove to us that things don't exist really. But that sounds crazy. My partner definitely exists. I know because he leaves dirty dishes in the sink sometimes. Or dirty clothes on the floor. So it's not that things don't exist, and that's an important thing to understand. We're going to be looking at the lower middle way school. And in this school, they say things don't exist really. Really is a code word for from their own side. The way they appear to me, or the way I think they exist. So remember, as we continue through this class, that we're not saying that things don't exist at all. Let's look at how things do exist according to this school. In the lower middle way school, Madhyamaka Swatantrika, also known as the independent school, and sometimes called the 50-50 school. The way things exist in this school is we have to have two things. We have to have an unimpaired mind. In the image on the screen, the woman is the one with the unimpaired mind. That means the mind is clear, it's not clouded by drugs or alcohol, or by some very strong negative emotion, which can disturb and cloud the mind. And the other thing that's needed is an object to appear to the mind. As we go through the interesting and important proof about why things don't exist really, this will help us to know that it's not that things don't exist. So one of the things that we can remember if we are getting confused and think things don't exist at all is our all important pen. When Geshe Michael teaches the pen, he often uses a Sharpie. Does anybody know why that is? You can put in the chat if you know why Geshe Michael uses a Sharpie. He likes to use a Sharpie because if you start thinking that things don't exist at all, when he's teaching about the pen, then he'll say, well, come up here and let me draw a mustache on your face. And we know the mustache will stay there for a long time and you'll be stuck with it. So things do work. The important thing about this class is that because we have to be observing the object, those two things, the mind and the object, that means that we have some control over what we're perceiving in our relationships. How much control we will look at in this class. But if we're responsible for our part, then we can change what we're perceiving. So we're going to talk more about how to change what we're perceiving. But before that, David is going to prove to us that things don't exist really. Back to you, David.
Okay, thank you, Alix. So we have this crazy idea, right? Things don't exist really. And I think that it sounds, if this is your first time hearing that, it's difficult to understand what that means. You need training to see that. It's not something you would normally see. So we need to use some kind of logic to understand this. And also, it's important to say logic is not enough, right? Alix is going to talk about being kind to others and planting good karma, right? So all the logic in the world will not change your life if you are not kind. But we need the logic. Our minds are crazy. So we need to use good logic. All day long we use crazy logic that says it's your fault. It's you. We're very good at using logic to blame other people. Right? Lawyers get paid a lot of money to explain why it's not their client's fault. Right? So we're going to use logic to take responsibility. So what we're going to use is a proof that comes from Lord Maitreya. Right? Lord Maitreya is the future Buddha who will come to this world. And he spoke a book called The Jewel Ornament of Realization to someone called Arya Asanga about 350 AD. So this is it comes from a very, very good source. Very good source. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the big Maitreya. Okay. And what he does is he almost is like a scientist, right? He uses this logic to look closer at reality. Scientists do this all the time. They see the way something looks one way, and then they take their microscope and they look very close. And see, it is really a different way. Right? And they benefit our lives very much by doing this. Okay? So our logic is like our microscope to look at things. Okay? So here's the proof that we're going to use. It is challenging, but stick with it. It will really help you if you understand it. Okay. So this is the proof. Okay, we are going to use a pen as an example. Consider a pen. It does not really exist. For it exists neither as one thing which really exists, nor as many things which really exist. It is, for example, like the reflection of a figure in a mirror. So let's look line by line. We are going to go through this because it's challenging. Okay. So first line, and the lines I'm talking about are going to be in black on the screen. We have consider a pen. This is just a simple example we're using. Okay. Next line, it does not really exist. Okay. This is the main, what we've been talking about, that it does not exist without us, without our part of the perception. Right? It means it does not exist without us. We are responsible. So now, how can we say this? This is the important. What's our reason for saying this? Okay. We have two reasons. First reason, it does not exist as one thing which really exists. Second reason, it does not exist as many things that really exist. So it has to be one or the other. It has to be either one thing or more than one thing. So this covers all possibilities. So let's consider the first one. It exists not as one thing which really exists. Well, is it one thing? Yes, we can say, if I have a pen, we can say that, let's see, I'll take this down, right? We could say it is one thing, right? Conventionally, no problem, okay? But is it really one thing, right? If I look close, is it really one thing? No, because it has parts, right? It has the tip, it has the clicky part here, right? It has the middle. So it is not really one thing. Okay. We just proved that it's not one thing. And the way that our mind sees a pen, though, is very interesting. We really think it is one thing, right? We really think our partner is one thing that is annoying us or that is sweet to us, right? If we don't look closer. Okay, so when we see the pen, here's what our eye does. Our eye goes to the tip part. Our eye goes to the clicky part, right? Our eye goes to the middle part, right? And then our minds puts together all the parts. And your mind says, this is a pen. Okay? But you never saw the pen. All you saw was one part, two parts, three parts. You cannot see the parts and the whole thing at the same time, right? So it is what your mind is seeing is impossible. You're seeing it's like an idea or a mental image that your mind makes when it sees the pen. Okay? And this is the same thing we do with people. Okay? We will get to that. So the pen is not one thing that really exists. Okay? Now we can go to our second reason. Is it many things? that really exist. And no, if we prove that one thing that really exists, it does not really exist. You cannot have more than one thing that really exists, right? If we say, is the top one thing that really exists? No, we have the same problem. We just proved it is not one thing. Can we say the bottom is one thing that really exists? No. What do we even decide to call the parts? We could say the inside is a part. We could say the outside is a part. What we even call the parts, or how many parts we decide it is, it's just our decision. Okay. It is not in the pen. Okay, it's in our mind. Okay, so we do the same thing with people, right? We meet a person, we see their face, we see their clothes, we hear their voice, and we put all the parts together, and our mind makes a picture of a nice person or a mean person, and we think it's really them. Okay, but it is really our own mind, right? Our own mind puts together the parts to make this, right? Just like the pen. And if you practice this proof in your life, you can watch your mind putting together this picture. You know, I did this yesterday, you know, last night before this talk. And you can stop your mind. If your mind is putting together a bad picture, you can say, wait, I'm not going to do this. Right? I'm going to stop this story of this bad person. I'm not going to yell at them. Okay. But I cannot choose, right? I cannot just choose to change how my mind puts the parts together. Right? My mind is being forced to do that by the way that I have treated other people. And Alix is going to explain more about how that happens.
Thank you, David. Great explanation of how we're putting the parts together, how we're perceiving our partners, our bosses, all the different relationships we have in our life. You may have to chew on that if it's a new idea for you. For me, this proof is irrefutable. For me, it can't be challenged. Now that we understand, or we're working on understanding, that without our perception, something can't exist, we're ready to talk about how we can use that knowledge in our lives. How can we take this idea, which is very different from how we normally think of the world, and use it to have great relationships? That brings us to dependence how karma works. This is a big subject in ACI 5. I hope you all get the chance to take this course if you haven't already. A lot of DCI is based on that course. Why do I see my boss as yelling at me, angry with me? And can I change it in the moment that it's happening? As David said, we're being forced to see things the way we do. We're being forced by what we did in the past, what we said in the past, and even what we thought in the past. I'm going to go back to my screen share and get to what is karma. This definition is very helpful. Movement of the mind and what it makes us do. Everything that arises in the mind is a ripening karma. I think it's easy to think of karma as a seed. So it's the seed opening up. And once that seed opens, then a thought is created. And we may also yell at the boss, yell back at the boss. Or we may choose to do something kind. An easy way for me to think about karma is like old-fashioned movie camera. Our mind is recording everything that it sees itself think, say, and do all day long. Always. Nothing is ever lost. And this recording makes an impression. It makes an impression in our mind, an imprint. That's creating karma. And then that karma waits, sits in the mind. And when the time is right, it ripens. That's a simplified explanation. But I wanted to make sure that we all understand how karma is created and how it ripens in a basic way. For our purposes, we want to control that process by choosing to think, say, and do things which are helpful to others and to ourselves. To make action, word or thought powerful, we need to have the 4 parts to a path of action. This is how ACI and the ancient scripture explains a powerful seed. The first thing we need is the basis, which is, in the traditional presentation, it's negative. So I'm using a negative example of killing the boss. Hopefully, most of us are no longer taking an action as extreme as that, but it will help us to understand. So first we have to decide who it is we want to kill, in this case, the boss. Then the second thing is to have a plan. What are we thinking about when we're making this plan and deciding to do it? The third thing is undertaking the action. doing the actual deed of killing the poor boss because he yelled at us or she yelled at us and we don't like her. And the fourth thing is, once the deed is done, we know we did it and we take responsibility for it. I wanted to take the time to put up this negative presentation because for me, this has helped me understand the power of karma. In a court of law, if you premeditate a murder, if you plan it out, you do it, and then you have no regret, you're happy you did it. This is the worst kind of crime a person can do. And you would get a very severe punishment. So by thinking about the negative aspect of karma, and how even in our own society, it's accepted that that is the worst kind of deed you could do, it helps me to really understand the power of the positive presentation of the 4 steps. I think many of you have heard the presentation of the 4 steps. So just briefly, we decide what we want: a loving relationship. In this case, maybe you don't have a partner, a romantic partner, and you want one. Or maybe you have a partner and you want to improve that relationship. Decide what you want. Find somebody else who wants the same thing. Step 2. One of the most powerful ways to plant a seed for relationship is helping somebody who's lonely. Many of us want a romantic relationship so that we have companionship. So you may visit an old person. Just do it. And then the 4th step is to be happy you did it, to own that deed. And that's a very important part. That's that part in the negative presentation where the person who committed a crime was happy they committed that crime and didn't have regret. But in this presentation, we are happy we did something kind because we know it's going to help. It's going to help them and it's going to help us in our relationships. We're going to give some practical examples in a few minutes. For now, the important thing is that planting seeds is how we change our perception of the parts. And David's going to help us to understand that a little bit more. Oops.
Thank you, Alix. So for me personally, sometimes it's hard to believe in karma. If I don't understand, right, how does this work? And to me, the logic that we talked about has to go together with what Alix said about karma. Right? The reason that karma can change your life is because things are your perception. Right? If things existed separate from you, how would karma go to change it? Right? So because things are, like we said, put together from parts by your mind, the karma is what's causing your mind to put the parts together as good or as bad. Right? So that's how those two ideas really go together. Okay. So here, just a practical, example from my life. And one thing about this, the idea of seeing that things don't have this real existence, it really helps me to let go when I'm feeling upset about something. Okay. I have to look closer at what is making me upset. So, for example, as my partner and I are getting married, we talk about where we're going to live. And we have different ideas about where we're going to live. And in my mind, this becomes a big problem, impossible situation. So I have to use the emptiness of one or many to look, say, where is this impossible situation? Is it one thing? So I say, no, it's not one thing, right? There's, my opinion, there's her opinion, there's the house, maybe there's money, right? So as soon as I start to think even what are the parts, my feeling of being upset starts to get looser. Because now it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense to me anymore so much. Right? Am I upset about the house, her, the money? It becomes kind of, ridiculous, right? And then I say, okay, is it many things? Is it more than one thing? Right? Well, if I take my opinion, her opinion, and the house and put them together, does that have to make a problem? No, it's just three parts. It's just two opinions and one house, right? There are many ways you could see that, right? The problem is in my mind, right? My mind sees the parts and it puts them together to make a big problem. So thinking about this, it helps me to not be upset, right? I can let go of my emotions because I see it doesn't really make sense. And I can open my heart, right? I can open my heart to seeing it her way because I love her very much. And I don't want a problem in my mind to hurt her, make her feel bad. So I have a little video I'm going to show to like illustrate this. Let me see if I can get my screen share to work. Where is the screen share? Okay. So this is this represents conflict, right? We have two hands, right? Two fists. Okay. But if we look closer, it's just dots, right? It's our mind puts together the dots to make the fist. So this is the conflict. And then as I think, I do this emptiness of one or many, the problem starts to dissolve, right? I see the parts. I see the house. I see her. I see me. It's just parts. And this is the chance to change things, right? My heart has let go of the way I was seeing things. Okay? And I also have to plant good seeds of kindness. I can't just move the dots because I want them to move, right? I must be kind. And if I do that, then the dots can rearrange themselves, right? Okay. And now we are holding hands, right? It's the same dots. The parts are the same. But my mind has put them together in a different way because of the seeds. Okay, we show that one more time. Okay, we start out, we have conflict, I think about it, and we put the parts together in a different way. Okay, it's the same parts, but what has changed? Right? My mind has changed. It's my mind, right? That's all it is. Okay. And we need to use this logic. We have to use our intelligence, because normally we use logic. We use logic to blame people. We use logic to say, I'm right, right? So we need to use logic. We need to fight that logic with good logic, right? You don't fight with your partner. You fight with your own mind. Just as strong as you would fight with your partner, you fight with your mind. So you can love people. It's good way to think. Okay, Alix, I'm going to thank you. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, David. I love your video. That image will stay with us and help us to remember when we are feeling conflict with somebody. I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of ways that I've used the ideas of karma and emptiness. Karma and emptiness, if you can see my cell phone, if you can still see my image, they're two sides of the same thing. So they can't be separated. I mean, they're not one and they're not many also. So whenever we think about these high ideas of emptiness, that things can't exist the way we think that they do, we also need to think about karma. So I have a picture on the screen. It's a while ago. I was younger. This was about 13, 14 years ago. My business partner and I started a real estate business. This is my business partner, Tiari, my good friend. Now, she's my good friend. But in the beginning, we actually had some quite rocky times. I want to use a business example, just even though it's Valentine's Day, so that we remember that we're surrounded by a web of relationships, business, family, friends, our teachers who are helping us to learn wisdom. All of these relationships, when they are working well, like lift us up and help us reach our goals. My problem in this relationship with my business partner is that I'm a pretty direct and to the point person. And Tiari processes by talking. And I used to get very angry. I was putting her parts together as irritating, talking too much. And we even got in fights about it. But I couldn't just wish that I wasn't irritated at her for talking so much. It was how I was perceiving things. As I learned more ACI and DCI, I came up with a plan. And I tried to watch my speech very carefully, planting seeds of speaking meaningfully, speaking truthfully, speaking to bring people together. I really did this on purpose for quite a long time, a year or two. Our relationship improved so much. We had a great business together. And we became a huge support to each other. Now, I'm not in partnership in real estate anymore. But Tiari and I go out for lunch. We went out for lunch the other day, and our relationship has grown very strong, very deep. I wanted to also give you an example of how I have used these ideas in my personal relationship. My partner, Ben, and I have been together about 12 years. I began to study DCI by going to Sedona College of International Management. This was about 6 years ago. It took me away from my home and away from my partner for 2 weeks at a time, 3 times a year, and from my business. So over a month and a half away from home studying. And I really felt I wanted to be closer to my partner. I felt a big conflict. So again, I used the 4 steps. My niece, I found, once I decided, I have to find someone who wants to stay close to their partner while they follow what they're passionate about. And my niece had the same situation. She had to travel. So I helped her, I met with her and gave her ideas. And I even arranged for her and her partner to get together physically. I helped them do that. And the result was that Ben was invited to go to Taiwan to play rock and roll with Geshe Michael, to do what he is passionate about, while I was there sharing wisdom and DCI with the people in Taiwan. There was an audience of 3,000 people at this concert with, the musicians on the big screen. It was very exciting. So these ideas really work to improve our lives. And that's what I wanted to point out with a couple of personal examples that were really extraordinary, beyond what I could have ever imagined. I'm going to turn the talk back over to David as we start to wrap up the ideas that we've talked about. Thanks, David.
Okay, thank you, Alix. And have to say, I play guitar, and I'm getting very jealous of Ben that he gets to play guitar with Geshe Michael. So I have to use this proof now to fix my jealousy. So I just to wrap up everything we said. so we need two things, right? We need to have logic, knowledge, and we have to plant good seeds and be kind to others, right? Together, this is method and wisdom, right? They say it's like the two wings of a bird. Okay, they don't work separately. So, that's the two main things we talked about today. The logical proof, again, is called the emptiness of one or many, is proving that things do not exist really, right? Meaning that my mind has a part in to create what I see. Okay. Because of that, we can use karma, as Alix explained. If we are kind to others, we can change the picture, change the way our mind puts the parts together. Okay, by helping others. And one thing I think is very important to say, we talk about how we can change our reality, but if you are in a relationship where that is abusive or a relationship that is harming you, you must get out, right? You cannot stay in a situation where you are being truly harmed. Okay, you must get safe, and then later you try to change something. Okay, my teacher always says this. So Alix, I just want to. She's also going to give us some last words.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the very important reminder that we need to stay safe, and it takes time. That's one of the things that we wanted to remind you at the end. If you're new, especially to these ideas, things don't change overnight, usually. You may be a more powerful seed planter, and things may change very fast for you. But for many people, it takes some patience. We have to prove it to ourselves. No one can do this for us. If the ideas that David presented about the parts, putting the parts together with our perception, if those ideas make sense to you, then the next step is to try to change your perceptions. And there's a gap between the time you plant a new seed and when you get a new result. The other thing to remind you is this image of this man who's about to step off a cliff. That means he's going into the wrong view of thinking that things don't exist at all. That's a very harmful view, because if you think things don't exist at all, then you will think that nothing matters, and that it doesn't matter how you treat people, what ethics you have, which is the exact opposite of what we want to have our conclusion be. Everything matters. Everything we think, say, and do creates our future. So please don't get the idea that things don't exist at all. David, I want to thank you for organizing this talk and the subject matter. It's been such a pleasure to be with you here. And I want to thank all the translators and Ale and the ACI tech team for supporting this wonderful series of wisdom in our daily lives. Thank you, everybody, so much. David, did you have a last word?
I think we were supposed to do questions, but I talked too much. So I think that's that I just wanted to thank everyone so much for the opportunity to do this. And it really truly helped my relationship to have this in my mind. Really, I think helped Adrian and I, my relationship very much. So that's a very big gift to me. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex and David, for this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful class. I want to thank also all the ACI volunteers, staff members who make this class possible. As you know, ACI programming is free of charge. We are an education organization that we always try to put the classes for free. But if you know, these classes take a lot of time to be produced from the teachers, from the staff, and from volunteers. If you feel that you would like to support our mission to keep these classes free of charge, you can donate any amount to our ACI fund, and we will use wisely your donations. Also, you know, ACI is an educational organization, and we mostly run by volunteers. We could not do this programming without the help and support of volunteers, their dedication. So thank you, all of them. And if you feel that you would like to help our mission to grow and expand in other regions, in other countries, and you would like to volunteer in marketing, content development, tech recording, learn how to translate, live translations, please reach out to us, and we will definitely find a place for you, because we have many programs and we support other organizations. Now we call worldview organizations, and we support a lot of them. So if you feel the call to become a volunteer, please let us know. And then continuing with our festivities for February, Valentine's. We love love. We like to celebrate love. We like to celebrate relationships. We like to celebrate friendships. We want to invite you, all of you, to our next special class, and actually Valentine's Day, with Rebecca Vinacour and Tim Lowenhout. If you want to, if you cannot attend the class, don't worry. All these classes and these sessions are recorded, and they will be uploaded to our study platform. So thank you again, David and Alex, for this wonderful class. And lastly, I want to say, I want to invite everyone to put an emoji or something to celebrate our David first class ever with ACI. Thank you so much for want to become a certified teacher. We love have you. Please stay. Please keep teaching us, and please rejoice in your dedication and your studies. Thank you all for joining, and see you soon.